These 5 truths keep most people from investing in real estate. Coming from somebody who owns $50 million worth of real estate, I'm going to talk about these ugly truths and explain why they might not be as ugly as you think. Number 1, cash flow is not everything. People assume that if they buy rental properties, they're just going to get thousands and thousands of dollars every single month in cash flow and be able to quit their job very quickly after that. And that is not the case. In fact, I made that mistake. When I started investing in real estate, I thought that I was going to be able to quit my job because of the rentals that I was buying. I quickly realized that that's not a realistic scenario, especially if you buy rental properties like I do using little to none of your own money. I aim for $200 to $250 per door per month on every rental property that I buy. Now that is net cash flow after all the expenses are being paid. But as you can see, if you're trying to replace $10,000 a month in income, you're gonna have to buy 50 properties to get to that $10,000 a month mark, and that's a lot of properties. Now, this doesn't mean you should not invest in rental properties, because rental properties is the way to long-term wealth. It is the way to eventual financial freedom, but it just goes to show you that you need to have 2 different mindsets. If you're looking for active income, there are other things like flipping or wholesaling that are right along the same alley as buying rental properties, but you get paid right now and not later. As opposed to rental properties, you don't get paid a ton now, but over time, and that $200 to $250 a month per door can add up if you buy multiple properties, but properties go up in value over time and tenants pay down the mortgage. So you're getting a lot of equity in the future, but not a lot of cash now. So that's why I suggest most people doing both. Look for deals, and if they make sense to flip or wholesale them. But if they make sense to keep as rental properties, make sure to throw a few of those in along the way, because that's the only way you're gonna get long-term wealth. You stop flipping, you stop wholesaling, you're not making any money. You can stop buying rental properties and still make money and create equity every single month, because real estate goes up in value and tenants pay down the mortgage. Number 2, evictions are real. I have had to do my fair share of evictions, and I don't like to do them, or I don't like to have my team do them. Now, most tenants, a vast majority of tenants, are really good people. They're just normal people that are looking to rent because they want to or because they have to. So this isn't a common thing. If you're a landlord and not a slumlord, like you have pride in ownership like I do. I mean, we have about 300 tenants right now, and we'll probably do a handful of evictions this year maximum. We give a lot of our tenants time to pay. We give them payment plans, and we work with them and communicate with them because we treat them like people. And in return, they usually treat our properties very well and communicate back very quickly, so we have a pretty smooth landlord-tenant relationship. When you do have to evict, you're usually spending between $500 and $1,000 to actually get the tenant out, plus you probably weren't collecting very much rent while the tenant was paying, hence probably the reason for the eviction. So it is a costly thing that you have to account for when you're running your cash flow numbers, because you will have some evictions, but the key to avoid them is to spend some extra time up front actually vetting the tenants properly, communicating with them, making sure they make enough money to afford your property. You need to set them up for success and set yourself up for success by vetting the tenant properly and spending a little bit of extra time and maybe denying a few tenants that were close, and really having quality standards that you stick to every single time to approve the highest quality tenant for the best situation for you and them. Number 3, tenants leaving your rental property, whether through eviction or just on their own, is by far the most expensive part about owning rental properties. People leave for multiple reasons. Maybe sometimes you have to kick them out. Sometimes they get married and move in with their spouse, or they want to upgrade or downgrade where they're living, or maybe they get a new job in a different city or a different state. So people tend to move. In fact, the average American moves 10 to 11 times a year. So naturally, if you're renting, you're going to have people leave. And the unfortunate part about people leaving is you're not collecting any rent while you still have expenses. Now, I don't want to scare you because you can account for this, but if you're not collecting rent for maybe 30, 60, 90 days while a tenant that gave you a ton of heads up has to move jobs and their lease is over, so nothing wrong happened here, but you're not collecting rent for 30, 60, 90 days, maybe while you're cleaning the property up, getting it listed and approving new tenants, you still have your mortgage, you still have your taxes, you still have your insurance, you still have expenses that you are putting out of your bank account while not collecting any rent. This is why you set aside money for vacancy, meaning you set 5 to 10% of your gross rent every single month aside in an account. Don't touch it, have it sit there, open up a different bank account if you have to, but let it sit there and it should grow to a lot of money. Hopefully, let's say you have a handful of rental properties, you should have several $1,000s in there after a couple years. Leave it there, because when a tenant moves out, there's a good chance you're gonna have to take a check out of there for maybe $1,000 to $2,000 so that you're not coming out of your pocket while you're approving a new tenant and the other tenant is getting their things out of the property, because it's usually not back to back. You don't have a tenant move out and a tenant move in the next day. Now you can show the prospective property to new tenants while the old tenant's living in it before the lease is up, but that can kind of be a pain. A lot of people don't want to do that. So this isn't a huge deal, but just know that when tenants move out, you have to spend money. You're not collecting any money. So the best way to avoid this is to spend a lot of time approving quality tenants, taking care of them. If you're taking care of them, they're only going to move for a life event. But a lot of tenants actually leave because landlords don't take care of them. They're slumlords. They don't communicate with them. They don't fix anything. And then they end up leaving, and you lose a ton of money doing that. So spend a little bit of extra money approving the right tenant and taking care of the tenant while they're there, and they will stay longer and you will cash flow more. You can charge 20% rent more than I do, but if you have a tenant move out every year, I will completely lap you cash flow wise because my tenants stay an average of 4 or 5 years. So in 1 decade, you have 10 tenants. In 1 decade, I have 2. And I only have 2 move out. So I cash flow a lot more, even by charging less rent, as long as I communicate. Make sure to like this video if you're still watching at this point, and leave a comment below with some myths or some ugly truths that you'd like me to address. Number 4, you can use your own money to invest in real estate and to own rental properties, but it's going to take you a long time to gain a ton of traction. There are ways for you to invest in real estate using your own money by putting 20 or 25% down on rental properties. But let's just say the average rental property costs $250,000. You will be having to come out of pocket 50 to 60 grand on this example by putting 20 to 25% down on a rent-ready property. Now, that's really cool. You own a property. You didn't have to put 100% cash into it. If you want to own $250,000 of a stock, you're going to have to put in $250,000. That's one of the beautiful things about real estate. To own a real estate property worth $250,000, you only have to come out of pocket 50 to 60 grand. However, most people don't make enough money to save enough money to actually live well and be able to cornhole 50 to 60K, multiple times a year. Like I said earlier, the only way you're going to create wealth and get a lot of cash flow is owning multiple properties. So if your goal is to create wealth, it's going to be a little bit harder to do that if it takes you 2 or 3 years to save up 50 grand. So again, using that decade example, you'll only have, not only, but you'll have 2 or 3 properties in a 10-year time frame. That's why leverage, that's why the Faster Freedom Framework that I teach all of my students, that's why it's very important to show people how to use little to none of their own money so they can buy 2 to 3 to 4 to 10 properties a year rather than having to save up the money. So there is a solution here. However, if you want to use your own money, it's going to take some time. If you want to learn more about that Faster Freedom Framework, kind of my own take on the BRRRR method, click on this video above. I will walk you through that method in a little bit more detail, or just wait until the end and we can throw it in the description below along with the free training. The big thing here to understand is real estate allows you to leverage whether you're using your own money or not, and leverage is the way that wealthy people create their wealth and maintain their wealth. Wealthy people don't use their own money for investments. They don't use their own money to actually invest in things. They use other people's money to invest in things, and then they take that asset that they're investing in this case real estate, and they pay off who they borrowed the money from. That's how every business owner that you know has created substantial wealth has done it, from Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos to everybody has leveraged their way to wealth. Number 5, real estate is not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it is a get-wealthy-for-sure plan. Nothing is guaranteed, but there is no other investment out there that does what real estate does. Real estate goes up in value over time, so does stocks, but real estate allows for a tenant to pay down your mortgage that you utilize to leverage to buy the property. Stocks doesn't allow for leverage. You can buy on the margin, but nobody would suggest you doing that. And there's nobody else paying down your stock. So you're getting equity growth with real estate, plus debt pay down from a tenant, plus tax-free cash flow because of depreciation, plus write-offs because you're now a small business owner. Real estate allows you to lump a ton of different benefits of investing that you get from other investment strategies, but you would have to be involved in a ton of different investment strategies. If you just want to focus on one investment strategy, go super deep and then wide, real estate's your only option to take advantage of all of the benefits that go along with real estate investing. And that's because the government, the IRS, they understand that real estate drives the entire U.S. economy, from rehabbers to new home buyers to builders to people actually working on the properties to people needing somewhere to live to people having equity in their property. Then they pull out as home equity lines of credit and spend to spur the economy. Houses are the backbone of the United States economy. Everybody understands that. That's why they give so many tax benefits and so many fringe benefits that come along with real estate investing that you don't get anywhere else. So just know that if you do it consistently and don't give up, you will create wealth through real estate. You just have to do it consistently and not give up. And neither of those things are easy to do. You have to be okay with a little bit of delayed gratification and working your butt off for a few years to finally see results. And most people aren't willing to do that, but it works. 90% of millionaires create through real estate, and everybody you know that's wealthy has probably gotten there, or a big chunk of the reason they're there is through real estate. And if not, they're sheltering some of their money that they've made. However, they've made it in real estate. So real estate is the answer. You just have to stick with it. Those are the 5 ugly truths to real estate investing. I still believe it's the best way for normal, average Americans to build wealth and get active income at the same time. If you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and check out the suggested video on the screen. See you on the next one.